European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure conference in Copenhagen 2018. And no European SharePoint conference is a real SharePoint conference without an interview I'm doing with Mike Fitzmaurice.
Dankeschön. Yeah. Appreciate that.
And after for how many years do we know us? Decades?
Oh, gosh, well, I've known you for 15 years, maybe longer. But the first European SharePoint conference we did together was the very first one that Microsoft put on, and that was back in 2007.
I'm so glad that I found someone who really recognized that there was a conference in 2007. I had a really long discussion with Chris Buckley because we had one in Germany, one in Berlin, 2007, and then there was another one. I think no need to introduce, just two words.
Let's see. I was one of the founders of SharePoint. Certainly not one of the people that invented it. I was the very first SharePoint evangelist, worked on the SharePoint team for 2001, 2003, 2007, and 2010. 10 years ago, I left the SharePoint team to be the chief evangelist for Nintex, and earlier this year, I switched over to a great Swiss company named Skybo. I'm now their chief technology officer.
When the camera is pointing behind us, there's your booth, right?
Yes.
What a coincidence.
It's very convenient, but I promise we did not engineer it that way.
You have to earn a product placement. It's interesting to see on lots of conferences, people are talking about the history of SharePoint. Right? Yes. Looking back, I see how this was the early days, and now we have a complete different situation. And SharePoint today is not SharePoint from the early days. Completely different.
And that's a good thing, because the world has moved on and SharePoint has adapted to it. Back in those days, running servers in your data center was expensive, and the fewer that you could get away with, the better. So a product that was a Swiss Army knife that allowed you to have one blade that did content management, and another blade that did collaboration, and another blade that did data integration, and that was really, really useful. And then, of course, so among other things, the cloud happened, and now you could have those different services living in the cloud. And as soon as they were living somewhere else, it didn't matter if they were in one server or whether they were in 6 different servers, because I was here and they were all equally available to me. So to me, SharePoint is no longer a Swiss Army knife. It's a set of high-quality services. I've got one that does great document management, another one lists. We obviously love lists at Skybo. We've got pages, we've got search, we've got so many different services. It's a nice place to be.
Yeah, and especially from the user perspective and from usability, when I look at SharePoint News and how easy it is to create some stuff, and it's always available immediately in mobile app, and it's you have all the modern stuff, so it's really a modern, fresh design.
Well, the other fun thing is, when they first put SharePoint stuff in Office 365, they didn't even label it SharePoint. They just said sites and search and my drive or OneDrive, or no, they didn't even call that documents. Essentially, the services being provided were the stars of the show, as opposed to the name of the service providing them. I actually liked that. There was a revolt. The SharePoint people really wanted to see SharePoint there, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing.
And as it's still there, that means that the name, the brand, is so strong with SharePoint that it cannot be eroded.
I'd say that SharePoint is a stronger brand than Office does, in many respects.
I think it is coming from the strong community that's behind SharePoint. It's so.
I could not agree more, because this is the part that continues to amaze me, because there are ecosystems out there that are bigger, like Salesforce, for example. Their Dreamforce conference is bigger than Ignite. But you know something? All the stuff that happens in Salesforce land, it's Salesforce itself doing the work. There's nothing like the SharePoint community where there are community events that aren't orchestrated by Microsoft, where Microsoft might show up to help, like here. But no, you've got spontaneous efforts happening everywhere. It's a participatory, collaborative phenomenon, and I've never seen anything like it anywhere else.
And we have so many people in the community that are there for years. For example, we're working for years together, developing together, aging together. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah, my beard used to be pretty dark. Not anymore.
looking ahead, looking to
Yes,
29. And
looking ahead.
the old times are wonderful, and we like to talk about it. But the future.
I would far prefer to talk about what's happening now and what I think will happen next.
Because we can learn from the past. We have done something.
Yeah, there are some. Okay, one of the things is occasionally someone wants to propose something crazy that I know we've tried before and know why it didn't work. And I know why we don't do it anymore, so please let's not do it again. But no, I actually think, look, I prefer SharePoint today to the way SharePoint was once upon a time.
Yeah.
The times have changed, the technology changes to fit it. It's exactly the right thing to do.
And now we're talking about Teams. And when
Yeah.
I look at Teams, and that's the next point I want to discuss with you, when I see Teams, it's starting a kind of appification of our modern workplace. So we have Outlook. We're doing open it up in the morning, do our email, closing it in the evening.
Yes.
Teams the same. Open it up in the morning. We do our project work and then closing it. You have to have it open all the day because there's all your stuff in Teams happening.
Yes.
Then you have maybe the Yammer app, you have the Stream app, and you have the SharePoint News app. So with these 5 apps on your mobile or whatever device, you have all the things you have from the modern workplace direct on your phone, on your workplace. And Teams is, for me, it's the integration hub. The hub is connecting all the dots.
Teams is an excellent integration hub. I really do like that about it because it integrates assets from SharePoint, it integrates collaboration or instant messaging assets, to use an increasingly archaic term. Real-time communications can happen in there. It's a really nice way to gather together a lot of stuff. We're very internally at Skybo, we love Teams, and externally, our apps can show up inside of Teams. We love Teams.
Yeah, when you start working for your project in Teams, it takes out the complexity of Office 365 because in Teams you can only configure that parts of Office 365. If you want to use Planner, you put a tab in with Planner. If you don't know, you never see it in Teams.
Yeah, you raise an extremely good point. Because one of the things that drives users crazy, and in fact, for that matter, drives IT and CIOs crazy, is a proliferation of tools. Too many things in too many places, too many inboxes or queues for me as a user to go take a look at. I can't keep up. But if I know that, okay, I work in this team and that team and that team, and if I go to this team and I see there are things to do, some of them are, this team uses Planner, fine. The Planner's in there, I've been assigned some tasks here. This team over here, somebody has announced something. There's no Planner in there, there's not even any documents, it's just used for chatting. That's okay, it had what I needed. This is all good. I can look in Teams and see everything that's happening. The key is, however, the organization needs the discipline to actually use this. But yes, I am very big on trying to reduce the total of number of tools that we put in front of a user, because asking them to some of the time use Skype for business and some of the time use consumer Skype and sometimes use Kaizala and sometimes use God knows what else, that's crazy.
I think you have so many tools. It's okay because you have so different workloads to but you have to reduce the complexity and only provide access to the tools you need for them.
Don't call them tools in this case.
Okay.
Call them services. I'm perfectly okay for a tool like Teams to gather together a set of services and just put the ones I need in this team and different ones that I need in that team and so on. But for me, I guess when I'm thinking tool, it's a tool that I might have on my phone or a tool that I might have on my desktop. Yeah. And I don't want to check 15 different places. I want to check 2 or 3. Yeah. Teams actually, because it is a good gathering vehicle, really does have the potential, if used properly, of course, to make one's life simpler.
What do you think when people are using Teams really heavily, with maybe integrated in 10 or 15 different chat projects or whatever, and all the synchronized communication, will it someday explode because it's too much overload? You have to react so fast on a...
I agree with that. I feel that sometimes, but it occurs to me I would feel that just as much, maybe more, if all of that was happening inside of email or all of that was happening in a set of discrete SharePoint sites that I had to bookmark because otherwise I would never find them. Information overload or work overload, that's not a technology problem, that's an organizational problem. And the best thing technology can do is make it hurt less and automate some of it when possible and organize it as much as possible. I think Teams does a pretty good job of that. Or more to the point, I think Microsoft 365 does a pretty good job of that, and Teams acts as a good window into a lot of that activity.
Mike, it's always a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of this wonderful conference.